Hi guys! Alright, we made it through Unit 5. Congratulations. Okay, so this is your Unit 5 review over area and perimeter. Again, I'm not going through exact problems that align perfectly with each one on your test, but it's a general overview, and as long as you know this basic information, you should be able to be pretty successful on your test. Excuse me, and of course I have the hiccups now. Okay, so perimeter is the length of the outside edge of a shape. All right, area is the space a shape takes up in 2 dimensions. So perimeter would be like if you were to put a string around the edge of that shape. Area would be like the space that it takes up. Okay, so for a rectangle, the area can be found by multiplying the length times the width, or also sometimes it's called base times height. For a triangle, it's 1/2 times the base times the height. You could take any triangle and double it, and it would be the same thing as a rectangle or a parallelogram, which is why it's just half of that space there. And then circle, area is equal to pi times the radius. Now circumference is equal to the outline of a circle, right? So it's a fancy word for the perimeter of a circle, okay? And it's found by doing 2 times pi times the radius, or since 2 times the radius is the same thing as the diameter, we can also write it as pi times the diameter. So let's go through some examples. So this first one, pretty basic, just a rectangle, 3 by 5 rectangle, find the area. So with this, we could do area is equal to base times the height. So I'm just going to multiply those together. So if this side is 5, that also means this side is 5. So we could call that our base, and then the height is 3. So really we have 5 times 3, and that gives us 15. It was in inches, so it would be inches squared. And that's it, right? That's the whole thing. Not too bad, right? For this second problem, the area of a triangle, okay? So the base is 8, and the height of the triangle is 20. Now the height, notice it's on the outside here, but it is the length, the perpendicular length, I should say, from the vertice, the opposite vertice to the base. Okay, so the area is equal to the base, 1/2 times the base times the height. So we have 1/2 times 8 times 20. Now with that, half of 8 is 4, and 4 times 20 is 80. And these are in miles, so in this case that would be 80 miles squared. Okay? With number 3, there's a circle with a diameter of 5 centimeters. Find the circumference and area. So we have to make sure that we have the right information. First off, we're given the diameter. So if we have a diameter of 5, that means the radius is equal to 2.5, because the radius is half of the diameter. Now when we're finding circumference, we can do pi times the diameter. That's one option. So we could say we have pi times 5. Now we could leave that as 5 pi, or if we replace pi with 3.14, which is a very common thing to do, we would have 5 times 3.14, and let's see, 5 times 3.14 is 15.7. Now this is just a length, so in this case it would just be 15 centimeters for the circumference. For area, that's like the space inside of the circle, we have pi times the radius squared. So let's just say that we're going to replace pi with 3.14, so we'd have 3.14 times the radius, 2.5 squared. Well, according to the order of operations, we have to do 2.5 squared first, which is like 2.5 times 2.5. So 2.5 times 2.5 is 6.25. So 3.14 times 6.25. I'll multiply those together and I get 19.625, and this would be centimeters squared. And that's the area. Okay? Now, and be careful on your test if it asks you to round to the tenths place or the hundredths place. Just make sure that you pay attention to that as well. Okay? And let's see, I've got one more for us. Find the area of the composite figure. Okay? So this figure here is made up of two separate shapes where we've got a triangle sitting on top of a rectangle. Well, for finding the area, let's see, for the rectangle, it's a 13 by 6 rectangle. So, to keep myself organized, I'll say the rectangle area is 13 times 6, which should be 78, but just to be sure, yep, there it is, 78. So, that would be 78 units squared. For the triangle, we have area is equal to 1/2 times the base times the height. So we've got 1/2. Now, the base of this triangle, it's not given to us directly, but we can figure out what it is. The whole length of this side of the rectangle is 13, but we used 4 and 4, or a total of 8. So, and 13 minus 8 is 5. So the base of that triangle is a length of 5, and its height is 4. So, the base is 5, and the height is 4. I can do 1/2 times 4. I can think of it as half of 4, which is 2. So we would have 2 times 5, which is 10. Well, then we need to add them together for the total, which would be 78 plus 10, which gives us 88. We don't know what the units are equal to, or like we don't know what they're, we don't know if they're inches or centimeters or miles, whatever, so we'll just say units squared. So in this case, the total area would be 88 units squared. I certainly hope that is helpful. If you need more help, just let me know, okay? Have an awesome day.